Brant, the Lions haven't started this hot since 2011. But 2011, I mean, we were adults and we were alive and well at that point. I remember that clearly. It did not feel like this. It didn't feel like this. I mean, people were excited, don't get me wrong. But there's something different right now about this team and the energy in this city around the team. So, Brant, I got a question for you. What do you think it is? Like, what's causing this? And I know obviously winning, like winning cures all, winning brings people together. But what is it about the Detroit Lions right now that has America all in on this team?
You know what I think it is, Dave? When you have a guy like Dan Campbell that everybody can rally around, and he's got a vision that starts with grit, right? And that embodies a city. Dave, I know you're old enough to remember, both of us are, like when the Go to Work Pistons, and that was like their motto, and they used to play like the little horn sound that was like to go to work time type deal, and it just gets everybody amped up. And I mean, the Pistons back in 2004 were like a revelation. Like, it felt different, and it felt like it didn't matter if you were a casual basketball fan or you just caught a game every now and then. Everybody knew when the Big Ben Fro was out. Like, it was a staple like that. Like, it feels like Dan Campbell is the face of this movement. And did you watch his post game where he pulled out the $5 bill or whatever, Dave?
Yeah.
You did? You caught that? And it just like goes to show you like everybody's listening. Like, he has America right now in the palm of his hand, and it's all under this grit element. And I obviously think that the Hard Knocks helped last year too. Like, everybody got to see inside of that locker room and what they operate like. So I think the difference between 2011 and now is actually Dan Campbell. I guess, do you want to go on that for a minute, what you think the difference is? Because I have a question for you.
Yeah,
So,
no, I have some thoughts. Do you have a question along those lines, or can I share my 2 cents on that?
No, go.
So I just think that this just reminds me of 20, 25 years ago with the Red Wings. Like, I don't know. It was like the Red Wings fans traveled everywhere for that team. They were so good. They were so exciting. They were loaded with talent, and it was like a sea of red everywhere. And I just think that, and you're right, Brant, the 2004 Pistons, at like the going to work Pistons, that they still play that horn. The Pistons have not gone to work in like 20 years, but they still do that. But I know like the Flames and all of that, right? Like the energy was so high around those teams. Brant, I think the city has been starved for a winner, for a champion around here, and it is from the top down. And when things go wrong, Brant, what does everybody say? Well, it starts at the top. Well, when things go well, it starts at the top too. And I think that we tend to do that just in life, is like, when things go bad. Brant, it was a year ago, I believe. It was like early last year. The Lions started out poorly. It's the Calvin Johnson ceremony out there at Ford Field. Sheila basically got booed off the field. Like, they were so bad. It was like the season was off the rails so early on. And then slowly but surely, this plan started to come together. And so I've got to give Sheila some credit, because this is her regime. From bringing in Chris Spielman to hiring Brad Holmes to bringing in Dan Campbell. I mean, this is her cohesive unit. From the top down, everybody's speaking the same language. She knows when to get out of the way, knows when to make decisions, and I got to give props to her. Now, is Sheila bringing the energy to the city? No. Like, I think clearly this is Dan Campbell's thumbprint over this whole thing. And, I mean, yeah, he's just he's your motivator. And he's gone beyond that though, Brand. I mean, he's becoming a head coach right in front of our very own eyes every week, where he's making decisions and putting his assistant coaches in the best position to get these guys ready and make the right in-game decisions, which has been Dan Campbell's fault at times. He's punting the ball when he should. Just little things. It's like, we're watching him grow up as a head coach in our own eyes. He's got the locker room. He had the locker room last year, and to his credit, he never lost it when they started that poor. I mean, Brant, in the last year and a half, I mean, you're talking about the one of the top probably three hottest teams in football, and it hasn't stopped. Like, this isn't a fluke, and that's the other thing is, like, it almost seemed like in 2011 there was something fluky about it going on. Obviously, you had Stafford, you had Kelvin Johnson, like, but that defense was never what it is right now, and some of those games they won were questionable. Like, it seemed different, and I think this Lions team is like, oh no, like, we're showing up every week. We're talking that talk. When Dan Campbell got on that microphone 2-3 years ago and said we're gonna bite kneecaps off and we're gonna have this tough, gritty mentality, like, it was all about saying the right things. And now he's following that up by, he's literally built his team off of that mantra, and they're bought in, and the city's bought in, and it's just like, it's perfect from the top down. And let's not go without giving major credit to Brad Holmes. You are seeing in front of your own eyes every weekend right now, Lions fans, this is the Brad Holmes vision. These are the players that Brad Holmes drafted. He cleaned house. He flipped Matthew Stafford into these draft picks that have yielded not only Jared Goff, who is arguably taking you to new heights that Stafford wasn't able to. Now, that may be too early to say that now, but he's in the MVP conversation. But he's Brad Holmes is drafted so well, almost like freakishly well. Like, you're going to miss on about half of these picks every year. You should. I mean, most GMs do, but you got to hit on a few. Brad's hit on almost all of them, and this is his team. And I feel like, and I was guilty of this for a long time, Brant, where it was like, can we stop talking about the character? Can we stop talking about, like, the locker room guys? Like, I want some dogs. Like, I don't care if they have character problems and this and that. Like, I want to win games. He's found a balance to do both. He really has. He's brought in the right guys, the right personnel, and this thing is humming right now. And it's not I know we joke about, like, oh, the hype train and this and that. Like, no, that's all, like, gimmicky and that sort of a thing to say, like, oh, get on the hype train now. Like, no, this team is for real. And I think that they stack up well against anybody in the NFL. And you can't question that at this point. Like, through injury, and this is the true battle test of a team. You can't say at this point, well, like, they haven't been hit with the injury bug yet. Yes, they have. Like, early on, they've played without their star receiver, without their starting running back, without their star rookie and Brian Branch. Jahmyr Gibbs has been out. I mean, you lost CJ GJ, like, right away, beginning of the season. Emmanuel Mosley played 2 snaps. Like, this team has been banged up, but it does not matter. These guys are prepared to play, and you hear it's always coach speak until it actually comes into existence. And what did Dan Campbell say? Next man up. And it's like, okay, yeah, dude, but you're losing this person and that person. Like, no, he meant it. Like, it's next man up. The team embodies it, and yeah, you are sitting at the top of the NFL right now. It's not the top of your division. You're sitting at the top of the league, and I'm all in on this team. So, Brant, go ahead. I'll turn it over to you. You said you had a question for me.
Yeah, Dave, actually, you kind of already answered it a little bit because I wanted to go back, and I just wanted to ask you flat out right now, 6 games in, is this the best Lions team you've ever seen?
Without a question. Yep, it's not close. I mean, you can go back to the 90s, right, when we were kids and Barry was here and all that.
Yeah, that's not really what I meant.
Yeah,
that's not really what I meant. No, you're on the right track.
Yeah. No, this is most definitely the best Lions team in our lifetime. I mean, Brant, you could ask some boomers that same question. They may tell you the same answer. This is it appears right now. I know we're 6 games in, the best Lions team that we've seen. And it's undeniable right now. It is. The talent is there. The talent is young. It's still coming together. And what's scary, I don't think this team has hit their peak yet. I really don't. Like, I think that they've left some to be desired on both ends of the football each game. Like I said, they've not been healthy, nor will they be this year. No NFL team is. I don't think that they have reached their peak yet. And that's got to be scary for the rest of the league. Because you know what? I know what the Chiefs are. I do. I know what the Niners are. I do. And that's no disrespect to them, but, like, I know what that team is. I know who the Eagles are. I don't think everybody knows the Lions are. I think they're kind of putting the league on notice. I really do. I think that everybody's kind of like, taking a step back right now, like, oh, this is a tough team to beat. Like, and they have not, although it's humming right now, I don't think that we have seen the peak of what this Lions team can be and will be this year. And that's got to be scary for the rest of the league.
Dave, I'm with you on that. And like you already talked about the depth. I mean, you want to talk about depth? See Craig Reynolds. Like, he had a heck of a ball game against the Bucs, and Montgomery goes down. All of a sudden, you're thinking, well, here we go. This thing might fall off the rails, but it doesn't. And you didn't even talk about your boy this week, Jameson Williams. I do want to touch on him quickly though, because Dave, he is not. I think we're seeing the evolution of him, but I don't think by the end of this year he's going to be an every down player. I just don't think that's his role on this team this year. Once again, Josh Reynolds has a fantastic game. And Amon-Ra is going to do his thing. It's just I don't think there are enough balls to go around right now for him. But if he's that guy that's going to come in and take the top off every 2 or 3 series, absolutely. Give it to me all day. And you even noticed that ball was a little bit underthrown. It doesn't matter because Jameson's so fast. He had 2 or 3 steps on the defender, and that's something that you can't plan for right now. Like, you don't know what he's going to give you. The Lions are not going to certainly bank on it, going forward, but it's one of those things that's like, hey, 2 or 3 times a game, we can pull this out of our hat and just maybe see what we got here. So I just think that's an added element to kind of what you're talking about, Dave, about the future and the peak of this team. It includes Jameson Williams, but I don't think it's a heavy dose of it.
Well, I agree. I think that you hit it right there. I think that is his role here. It's like they moved up to get him to take the top off the defense and balance this offense with a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown, like Mr. Reliable. Call him a possession receiver, whatever. That almost sounds like a slight to him. I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown is a top 10 NFL receiver in the league right now today. You add in Jameson Williams, and Sam Laporta when healthy, we haven't even seen Jahmyr Gibbs, you know what I mean, to really what they can do with him. Healthy David Montgomery, man, it is scary. And the one person that I didn't talk about and I meant to talk about as I was going through Sheila and Brad and to Dan is, dude, hats off to Jared Goff. Pay that man. I mean, I'm serious. I'm at that point right now where it's like the quarterback that we have seen over the last, I don't know how many games it's been, Brant, 15 games. This quarterback that we have seen he's elite. Call him an elite game manager, whatever. I feel very confident having Jared Goff as the quarterback right now. Even when he makes mistakes, gets right back on track. Doesn't make the perfect throw every time, but he knows his bag at this point. He knows what his safety blankets are. And if he knows what those strengths are and can play to them week in and week out and get you a nice clean win, I'm all in on Jared Goff. Brant, Jared Goff right now has the most bets this week in Vegas to win the MVP.
Well,
people are hopping on that train right now.
Let me tell you, over the last 17 games, so you said 15, but it's actually over the last 17 games, so full season, right? Leads the league in completion percentage. He's number 1 in that. I think he's top 5 in QBR. 4,500 yards. I know his touchdown to interception ratio is outrageous. He had that streak of where he didn't have an interception. I know this isn't a big stat show. It's not what we do here, but I'm telling you, he has been a top 5 quarterback in the NFL for the last 17 full games. So take that for what it is. I understand that's somebody says, hey, that's one sample size of a season. I've seen Jared Goff be really bad. Yeah, well, you saw Jared Goff be really bad with a bad offensive line last year, kind of, at the beginning of the season. They kind of got it turned around at the end of the season. So scrap last year, doesn't matter. This team right now has everything on the table for it. And, Dave, it's the best Lions team I can remember ever seeing. That's for sure. And while you used to have Stafford and Calvin Johnson, what were those guys' MO? Let's get down 22 and go ahead and hurry up and come back in the fourth quarter all the time. One, never had a really reliable defense. I mean, the 2015 defense was pretty good. That was a top 10 defense for sure. But they never had it like how they have all these skill players. Like they had Calvin Johnson, that's for sure, and he can beat a triple team from time to time, but he was never going to take you to a Super Bowl, Dave, right? So now you have a complete team, and I think that's like you've already said, hats off to Brad Holmes and that whole crew. And you gave props to Sheila for it earlier, and I do have to also say that as well. Someone had to sign off on the Matthew Stafford trade. Like, Brad Holmes doesn't just deal him and be like, in the dead of the night behind Sheila's back. He's got to go into her office and sit down and be like, hey, this guy's been a staple of Detroit football for the last 12 years, whatever it was. I'm going to deal him. What do you think? And she's either got to say yes or no, obviously, and she made the right decision. And Dave, you talked about the draft picks and everything. It's been beautiful to see it play out. And now we have the rest of the season to just kind of sit back and watch this team just win games. And we've never had that.
Well, and Brant, what other GM in the NFL right now is in the crowds high-fiving fans? Like Brad Holmes is just different. I don't know if you saw him at the end of this game. Like, Brad Holmes is different. I'm all in. And so I just quickly